managed to get the FS7 on the Crane 3 Lab. We had to make a few modifications to get it to work though. Because of the length of this camera, your main issue is the back motor here, and making sure that there's clearance from the camera to the back motor, especially if you want to use it in briefcase mode where you're holding the back handle and getting those low to the ground shots. What I did is I mounted the quick release plate backwards. This gave me extra length on the back end of the camera. Now, I'm sure there's another way you could do this. You could probably put another plate on the bottom of the FS7 and then screw the quick release plate for the gimbal onto that plate, and then you'd have more holes. Maybe you could place that plate back further on the camera, but just as a stock body, there's only the screws at the very front of the camera. So we switched the plate around. Now what happens is you don't get the safety lock working. The second thing we had to do is we had to add some extra weight on the back of the camera. We're only using a very small 35mm Sony prime lens, which is a super light lens on the front. And even with that super light lens, the front of the camera was heavier than the back of the camera. We do have a larger battery on here. There might be even a larger battery that you could put in, and maybe that would give you the extra weight on the back that you would need. But what we ended up doing is we just put a metal weight, a counterweight that we had kicking around, and we just taped that to the back of the camera, as well as allowing us to give us enough clearance from the back of the camera to the back motor. The Sony FS7 doesn't have a built-in screen. It has this viewfinder that is modular. It can come off. It's easily attached to the handle. We stripped all of that off the top just to get the body smaller on the camera. But now the problem is now it's just a headless camera. There's no way to view the screen. You could hook up the HDMI to the HDMI wireless feed on the gimbal, and then you could use your phone to view it. We have tested that and it does work. We mounted the viewfinder to the back of the camera underneath, and the way that we did that is this rod that is attached to the viewfinder right here. We stuck that underneath the camera, in between the camera and the mount, and then we just put a piece of tape here and a little bit of Velcro on here to hold that steady. That also helped offset the weight. By putting the viewfinder in the back, it gave us that more weight that we needed on the back of the camera. So with those three mods, we were able to get the FS7 on here, and we were able to get it to balance, and here I'll show you. So we're going to take the lock off the back motor, and as you can see, it's completely balanced. And then we're going to take the lock off the motor in the front here, and boom, we're balanced. So we have a completely perfectly balanced FS7 on the Crane 3 Lab. Let's fire it up. And there it goes. So if we pick this guy up, you can see that we can put it down briefcase style like that, or we can raise it up. The gimbal motors are working just great. We did have to put the motor strength to high. There's 3 settings for the motor strength, and we set it to the highest strength for heavier cameras. The other thing you can do is you can put this in F mode. I'm assuming that means full, I don't know. But that allows us to do this, where now the motors actually follow our movements for tilting and panning as well. So now we can have full control of those motors. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go outside and we're going to do some test footage with my son Kent, and we're going to head to the playground and we're going to see how the footage turns out. Again, we're limited because I've got a 35mm prime on here. The Sony FS7 does have autofocus. It's not super fast, but we're going to make do because we don't have the follow focus assembly hooked up to the Crane yet. That's still to come, hasn't arrived yet.
It's a song, it's a note, it's a quiet sigh. Keeps me dancing through the static, everything's alright. I think we were born for it. I think we were born for it. Yeah, I think we were born for it. Never felt so at home before. was a kid. Hear your footsteps run to the door on the corner where you live. Never wishing I was someone else. We let it all go at midnight, looking at the stars to find ourselves, full of life, inspired at the same time. It's a star, it's a light, it's a signal fire. It's the sound of your voice cutting through the night. It's a song, it's a note, it's reflected light. Keeps us dancing through the static, and I hear you sigh. Said I think we were born for this. I think we were born for this. I think we were born for helping you, helping me see my worth. Watch you grow into someone you're proud of. Hope you get to hold all you deserve. Your life I'll never forget the sound of. I think we were born for this. I think we were born for this. I think we were born for this. You and I were born for this.
I really hope you liked the test footage as well as the tutorial on how to set up the FS7 on the Crane 3. I'd really appreciate it if you could like this video and subscribe to my channel. Until next time. Like this video and subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to my channel or my son Kent will fart on your face. Thank you to my son Kent for being a great sound guy behind the camera here. Beware of Kent's farts.
Oh, yeah, but they really are very...
They're deadly.